What up, 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 what up? What's going on, America? It's your boy, it's Rod, it's Don. We got Fins Up Corey in the building as our special guest, brave enough to come back after yesterday's performance in Philly with his Fins. But nevertheless, we're going to talk about it all today. Shout out to Corey for being brave enough to get that heat today. But listen, it's on and popping. We got some football tonight. We got the 49ers coming through, playing the Vikings. Not sure what kind of game that's going to be. Not very good one for the Vikings, I would imagine. But nevertheless, we're here to talk sports. It's Brooklyn Beers and Ball Sports Show. And before we get into it, we need y'all to do us a favor. We need y'all to like. We need y'all to share. We need you to show some love like y'all been doing. Facebook, YouTube. We appreciate the love, the likes, the shares, all of the comments, supporting the reels, and all the stuff that we got coming out there that's popping. Talking about this sports stuff. Later this week, we're going to get into some NBA as well. We know we got that on deck. I can't wait to see the Lakers do their thing. But nevertheless, we are here in the building. Big Don, what's good with you, sir?
Oh man, it is so good to be here, man. I'm glad Corey is an honorable man. He is a man.
Yeah, a man of my word.
He's a man of his word. You know, usually we bring our guests in, but I want him to be here for all of the pomp and circumstance. I want him to be here from the intro until he has to go, and I'm glad he's here. We're gonna have a good show. And listen, we're not here to destroy or break down or try to tear down a brother, but we are going to discuss what we saw yesterday. But without further ado, man, let's do it. Okay, we got one more game in the books, the 49ers versus Minnesota Vikings. But before we get to that, we're just going to do a quick recap of what we saw yesterday. There were a lot of teams that didn't measure up to what we thought they were going to do. I was right on Scrap. Scrap's is in the chat. Oh, so I this is going to be really funny. I think we'll focus right now like we did last show. We'll start the show off with Miami Dolphins versus Philadelphia Eagles. I'll say this real quick, and then because I know everyone's gonna have something to say. Miami, the Dolphins are fraudulent. They're fraudulent. You can't tell me no different. As long they punch down, they beat up on teams that are not playoff bound, that have no Super Bowl aspirations. They can handle those teams easily. Tua putting up peace sign, 22 miles an hour. Everybody's running. Your run game was completely shut down. You became a one-dimensional team. They started getting around Tua as predicted. Once they got around Tua, his game completely changed. And Jalen Hurts got some get back. Listen, the game could have easily, I predicted the score 35-21. You guys didn't get 20 points. I gave you too much credit. You didn't get 20 points. Number two, they took it easy on you. Please, Hammer, don't hurt them because they could have went up 21. They took knees when they were in the red zone. You guys looked terrible. Terrible.
Oh, no.
You look terrible. You look terrible. Because once again, you look like world beaters. We're comparing to, listen, Tua was an MVP candidate, right? No more. He's not an MVP candidate anymore. No more. Because your MVP status is based on what you do when you're playing playoff teams, not bottom feeders. When you put up 70 against the Broncos, now you got to look at it as it was fraudulent. It's not a true test. You looked outmatched against the Eagles. Those are the teams that you would potentially, and you should hope that that's not a Super Bowl preview because you didn't fare well at all. But I'm not going to continue to browbeat. I'm going to give you some time. I'll pass it to you. What do you guys have to say?
First of all, going back on the schedule, Donald, you play who's on the schedule. It's not our fault. Now, if we're going to play you got good teams that play bad teams and they lose. Look at Buffalo. Nobody's seen that coming yesterday. You play who you play. You know what I'm saying? We take care of business against subpar teams. That's what we do. Let me tell you this, Donald. First of all, we didn't look bad. We was in the game for about three and a half quarters. Let me say, Philly was 100% healthy. We wasn't healthy, Donald. You could say this as much as you want, but when Purdy went down, I know you felt like you had a chance to win last year in that championship game, but you didn't because Purdy went out. You didn't win that game, okay? Injuries play a key factor. No excuses here, though. We had our chances to still win the game without our left side of our whole line wasn't there. We missing 2 of our starting corners. No Ransby, no Howard. Howard came out inactive about 30, 45 minutes before the game. We didn't see that coming. So, of course, Brown got busy, and he really got busy in the second half because he didn't do too much in the first half. We was in the game, Donald. We had a holding penalty on 1 touchdown. Hill dropped another touchdown over the middle. Our defense played pretty decent, I felt, in that game. That's what we want to take out of it. And you talking about Tua putting pressure. They got 2 sacks on the last drive when they was up 31. They was up 2 scores already. So they knew we was passing every play. So they sacked us 4 times. I thought the line, for the most part, on pass protection did okay. It was the run game. We couldn't get the running game started. We started out the second half running the ball a little better because we started going to the outside. We figured out we couldn't run up the middle, so we started doing some power sweeps to the outside. We got a few decent runs in the second half. But I do not think that we're frauds. I feel like we played a good game. Philly's a good team. They were the better team yesterday. I thought for the most part, the defense played pretty decent. You know what I'm saying? Now, I got to give Philly credit. We had to work our way down the field. Definitely had to. We did leave some plays on the field. And I don't like to make excuses, but the refs did play it. They played a little part. They played a little part, but Philly was a better team.
I just want to hear what Rod's going to say. After all of what you just said, I want to hear, because Rod, he tells me excuses and all of that stuff. He doesn't want to hear it. So I want to see if he's going to have the little brotherly shove for you and push you across the line, because I don't want to hear nothing about no excuses. I see him coming around right behind you.
Okay, let me ask you before you go to Rock. When you lost to Philly, before you go to Rock, when you lost to Philly in that NFC Championship game, what was you saying? Did you not once say you had a chance if Purdy played?
I think, of course, we had a chance if Purdy played.
Okay, then.
But that is the quarterback position.
Okay.
What team is going to operate without a quarterback position? And when they replaced Purdy with just scrap heaps, they bought Jack Johnson, and we didn't have a chance. Right. If we had a serviceable quarterback, we still probably would have had a chance. Or we definitely would, even if we lost, which I doubt, we wouldn't have lost like that. You guys, and I don't want to hear, well, he didn't do nothing in the first half. We look good for 3. We look good for 3 quarters. That is kind of your MO. Because remember, when you played us, you looked good in the beginning. First play of the game, slants, and everybody's about to jump off the side of Levi Stadium. Then as the game progresses, because you said, and I heard you, you said there's going to be a filling out period in this game. And there definitely was. They filled you out. They tried to see what was going on. And ultimately, did you have your quarterback? You can't compare losing Purdy to having Tua upright the entire game. If it was, I just lost a receiver, it's supposed to be next man up. If your team consistent, and you didn't have what's his name the whole season.
We didn't have Ramsey, but we did have Howard.
Ramsey the whole season.
No, we didn't. We didn't have Ramsey, but we did have Howard though.
Okay.
We did have Howard. And I think Howard on A.J. Brown, he doesn't go off like that yesterday. Come on now, Donald. And you can't say we looked bad. We didn't look bad.
Dallas Goedert? How did Dallas Goedert fail?
Dallas Goedert, how did he fare? He did a good job. He did a good job. I thought we held Devontae Smith.
And if you wasn't going to shut down both of them, right?
No, but I feel better with Howard on A.J. Brown. That would have been the matchup yesterday for sure. A.J. Brown does not, what he had, 160? And 2 scores, what he had? 137 and 2 touchdowns? He's not doing that against Howard. I don't think that's happening against Howard. That's not happening against Howard. Come on, Don. I mean, I can't say we look bad.
I want to ask you a question. What will be your view of your team? Because we're talking Super Bowls. We're not talking about different uniform color waves, right? Because y'all might have a great color wave in uniform. We're talking about Super Bowl. So what happens if you lose to Buffalo? You lose to the Chiefs, because the Chiefs now are starting to heat up. You're going to get smoked by the Chiefs. Because if you don't think Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce is going to try to make Tyreek look like a peewee football player, you're kidding yourself.
Okay,
They've circled that.
They definitely.
And you look bad against the Eagles. What will you say
I
then
we
if
look
your
bad.
team look?
Donald, we not at full strength. To say we look bad, that's not a good word.
Let me ask you a
wouldn't
question.
use the
Did you
word
know?
bad. We didn't
Did
look
you
bad.
know that your team, quote unquote, was not at full strength when you were, yeah, let's go, let's do it.
I didn't know. Now, honestly, I didn't know Howard, and we didn't know Howard wasn't playing.
Oh, so
Howard makes a difference.
Howard
makes a cornerback. A corner.
Howard.
No, but look what he did yesterday, pertaining with no Howard in the game. There was no Howard in the game. We didn't see that coming, Donald. He's an all-pro corner. He leads the league in interceptions since 2018. He makes a difference. Them deep passes, all that, he makes it. He's a playmaker. You're a playmaker at a key position. And who was getting busy yesterday? Brown.
But they did.
Come
so
on.
what? So as you
what did they run again? What did Philly run again do?
So what can Brown do for you?
They had 99 yards.
Walk that up with me, right?
They had 99 run, and they run it, and we pretty much held their run in check. They run it. They was running the ball way better than that against everybody else.
34 rushes.
3 yards a carry.
As a team.
We did do good against the run.
So let me ask you a question.
And I got to give Jalen Hurts
credit. Did they dominate you guys in the fourth quarter? I just
you know what? You know what? I'm gonna tell you where they dominated.
How many shoves did they do? They did 4.
They did four. They did 3 of them on one drive. And that's a play. I can't stand that play. I can't.
I agree. Injuries don't mean nothing until you lose. Because if you won the game, you would have said, "Yeah, we did this without Ramsey and without Howard." And now when you are correct,
but it does play. It does play a key.
We ain't got Larry
Come on,
Zonka,
it's the same. Listen to me, right? Having no
Marino,
not having your players play is the same as playing a bad team. It's the same thing. It's the same thing as playing
Miami was a bad team yesterday, is what you're saying.
No, I'm just giving an example when you always relate us to playing our schedule. We were missing some key, but like I said, I give Philly credit. I'm gonna give major credit to in that game with Jalen Hurts. His extending the plays was big. It was a few plays where we had him. He was able to scramble, break us down. The one big play to AJ in the first quarter, that was big. You know what I'm saying? I give them credit. He definitely did. He did. And I don't think Tua played particularly well besides the one in the I don't think he played bad besides the one interception towards the end zone. I thought he played a game. He played a good game. Tyreek had a few drops though yesterday. But for the most part though,
Tyreek who's to blame for you losing? Who's to blame?
Who's to blame? You know what? That's a good question.
You could have easily lost the game by 21 plus points.
I don't know about that. I don't know. Philly didn't. They didn't dominate us.
Can we throw it to Rod at some point? Because
go ahead. Let me hear what you got to say before.
21 points. You don't think? Listen, hurt people. I love it. That's great. Hurt people. And Jalen Hurts hurt them.
That's why.
He hurt them. Jalen Hurts hurt people. Love it. That's absolutely. Listen, I'll say this. If there's two, and as much as I want to punch Sirianni in the face, because he has the most punchable face in the league.
He does.
I mean, it's a perfect profile. In the dictionary, if you saw a punchable face, it would be Sirianni's face. As much as that, and then he's like, "Yo, don't panic. You can't stop us.
It's
you
a hard
can't stop the brotherly shove." And they showed that it was on full display against you guys.
Yeah, what? You could tell they were purposely trying to design it. They shouldn't ban it. No, let me tell you.
The way they did that to you guys, I mean, it was embarrassing. It was.
You said they should. You said they should, or they shouldn't.
They shouldn't. The way they executed against you guys for almost an entire quarter, they shouldn't. Yeah,
it's got to go. It's got to go, Donald. The players got to go. It's got to go. Simply, this is the reason why. I
think the play will probably get banned.
It needs to, because there's no way you can have 3 players push 1 player and they all know the snap count. It's unbearable. You can get 2 yards guaranteed on it. Okay. Come on, you got 3 players pushing 1 player and they all know the snap count. It's a disadvantage to the defense. Come on. And let me tell you something. You know what's funny? It's going to come down to the Super Bowl. It's going to decide the Super Bowl, and it's going to frustrate fans. It's going to go.
Let me stop you there. The suggestion that the Eagles are going to the Super Bowl.
Well, I got to tell you
that the Eagles are going to the Super Bowl. Is that what you said?
No, I wouldn't say
that's what he said.
No.
He's punch drunk. He's punch drunk. After someone beats you, You ever
play.
seen someone
I'm
get
talking
beat
about
up
the play.
on World Star and they looking around like, yo, where my friends, where my wallet at, yo, everything. That's what the Eagles did to you. Now you're starting to suggest that the Eagles are in the Super Bowl? I don't think so. That may only.
No, I'm just talking about
NFC
anybody.
championship
Anybody
game.
can do that play. Anybody.
Yeah,
can
but nobody.
can do it.
They do it with the most success, right? So
Yeah, they do.
it. And Scrap brought it up. Great point. They did that the entire fourth quarter almost.
Yeah, they did
ran off
three
like
times.
six
And
minutes.
if you and I watched and I seen plays of the fourth quarter again. I actually went back and watched some of the fourth quarter again, and they were actually designing plays just to get close enough to do it. Where you see most teams throw
on
past
third
the
down,
sticks.
they weren't really.
Yes,
Yeah,
they were.
third down, it wasn't
third
trying to
and
get
5.
first.
No, we do 3-yard play. We'll run it 3rd and 5. We'll run, get 3 yards, and then.
So they were
do our
toying with
push.
you guys. So what you're saying is, like, you ever see a cat toy with a ball of yarn? That's what they did with you guys. They threw it out, but they knew they still had control of it. Listen, I say all this to say this.
What's that?
They dominate. The reason why I say dominated is because at the end of the game, if they're in the red zone and they have 2 minutes, are you suggesting that they couldn't have scored in the last 2 minutes in the red zone?
Well, Donald, we went for it. I mean,
That's
come
what-
on now. I mean, I'm not giving you that last. We see that all the time in the NFL. I mean, come on. We could have scored 73 points, but we nailed it. We didn't kick the field goal. I mean, come on now.
But that's what once again, that's with a team, a bottom feeder team. What are you
No, I'm
doing?
just saying, like, you don't run the score up. You don't see teams do that.
It's just
Come on.
sportsmanship.
30,
No, I understand that, but we're
31-17 is the final.
But we're talking the logic of what a team could do potentially. You guys were outmatched to the degree where they could have. You lost by double digits, as predicted.
Mhm. Double
digits, right? 2 touchdowns, right? And then you were so tough yesterday. I reduced it to 10 points, but I stuck and said that it would at least be double digits. But it could have easily been 21 points. If Sirianni, with that punchable face, who probably was bullied in junior high school, said, no, I'm going to show the bully, or I'm going to prove to this team that we're superior, they would have punched it in again. They would have pushed their way straight into the end zone. So, but Rod, I don't want you to pass it. I want you to address these excuses that your brother is making.
Yeah. No doubt. I told Donald when they lost to Cleveland, and the first thing Donald came out on the show, and he was like, we lost CMC, Debo, everybody. He came out right up the rip with all the excuses. Meanwhile, they only lost by a field goal, right? In fact, they missed the winning field goal. They had possession of the ball, could have won that game easily, right? With the final field goal. So they still had opportunity to win. Now, yes.
Unlike them. But go ahead.
Yeah, unlike Miami yesterday, even though I will agree with Corey in this sense, and I'll get back to the excuses part. I don't think the score was it's not indicative of really how close that game was. That game was close. Miami could have won that game. They were still in it into the fourth quarter. I think there was, and I can't recall, but there was a drive where the Dolphins was looking really good on, and it was a holding penalty that just thwarted that drive, and Miami wasn't able to recover. Miami was moving into Philly's territory. It was a sideline catch throw that one of the receivers made. It wasn't Waddle, it wasn't Hill.
Yeah,
one of the other
Wilson.
dudes. It might have been Wilson or the other dude. The other kid y'all was throwing to the little white boy in the slot. That dude might have been
Berrios.
Yeah, Berrios, right.
Scrap said they're going to Vegas to see a Usher. They're seeing to go see Usher.
No, the Eagles. I'm gonna tell you, the Eagles. To me, in my opinion, I'm gonna be honest with you. They didn't really. They played. This was actually probably a game where they looked the best against a formidable opponent.
Formidable.
Miami. Well, look, I will say Miami is beating the teams that they should beat, right? Because if they lost to those teams, then we'll really be saying
then what?
Right? So you got to beat the teams that you play before. We've all gonna play some crappy teams throughout the season. It's just like that, right? But I will say this: the game wasn't as indicative. The score, rather, is not indicative of actually how close that game was. Now, when you do have your corners are out. 3 linemen are out. That's huge. Trust me, I know. Because when Dallas offensive line is not healthy, it is problems. Especially if you got Zach out, Zach Martin, or you got Tyler Smith. When you got those guys out, it's a problem. But each team only gave up 3 sacks. Okay, I thought the front 7 for both teams played really well. The Eagles and Dolphins, they played the front side. I think they both contained the run for the most part. Miami really didn't have a lot. They only just averaged just under 3 yards a carry. They only had 45 in total as a team. Philadelphia only rushed for 99. That's about 100. That's well below their average as well. I think both teams did well there. I think the back end, like I said, going into the game, that was going to be a weakness for both of those teams. And I think both teams kind of exploited that, particularly, obviously, the Eagles did with A.J. Brown having a monster game and Goddard just killing them with the screens and the flats and stuff like that and being able to run the ball in open field like he did. But I think I agree, but you can't cover the excuses. I tell Donald that too. You know what I'm trying to say? No excuses. I mean, yes, those are injuries there. The Howard injury right before the game, that's a blow indeed. But, you still had a chance to win that game. Miami still could have won that game in spite of the major losses, particularly on the front line, because without 3 linemen, your run block is trash. You're not running the ball well at all. You know what I'm saying? Then you got Aiken who's out. Mostert is still a good back, but I think he's better now with Aiken back there with them to complement. So I'll just say this. Look, Philly got the win. I wanted Miami to win for obvious reasons because I hate the Philadelphia Feebles. I still think they're a team that's beatable. Dallas will beat them, and I know we'll talk more about that later or as the week progresses and the season goes along. But I still think Miami is still a very good team. When they get healthy defensively, then we'll be able to make a full assessment. When they get Ramsey back, Howard back, and when you look at their schedule, and I'll say this real quick with their schedule. When you look at Miami's schedule coming up, you got New England next week. They should thrash them, okay? Kansas City, obviously, that's a game that they potentially could lose, as Donna was talking about. You got the Raiders. They'll beat the Raiders. They should beat the Jets. They should beat Washington. They should beat Tennessee. They should beat the Jets again. But then you got Dallas.
We don't know that.
Well, we don't know that.
Jets will be tough. Jets will be tough. Jets will definitely be tough.
Y'all might even split the Jets. But then your last 3 games of the season where it gets rough. You got Dallas, Baltimore, and Buffalo. So that's when it gets, and at that time, that's when you talk about seeding.
They're going to lose all 3 of those.
Well, I'm definitely hoping at least one of the 3 in that.
Because it's going to be cold, right? Unless some of those are in Miami.
Well, two in Miami, two in Dallas and Buffalo in Miami, and then Baltimore. I think we go up there.
It's going to be good, but no excuses though, because Miami still had a chance to win that game. They still had a chance to win.
Okay, can I just say this? When you say chances to win the game,
yeah,
and the score you lose by double digit, you don't really have a chance to win the game. Come on.
I don't agree with that though. I told you that before, D. Right? I remember I told you that I think sports, the scores in football to me, it doesn't make sense. And you always, because you're really good at that when it comes to the spread, you explain that really well. My mind, if a team lost 14, it was saying Philadelphia won that game yesterday 14-0. That's a tough game.
That's
if the
a good
score
game.
was just 4-0, it was a tough game. Like you lose by 2 touchdowns. I think it was 3 touchdowns or better. Now you're talking blowout.
We're moving the goalposts. If you lose by double digits, right? Because
you lose. So if you lose 10-0 or 10-0, is that a lot?
If you're completely shut, anytime you're shut out, it's terrible, right?
Okay,
if you're shut out, it's terrible.
Well, that doesn't mean it's not a good game, though.
13-3. If you play the game, D.
How did you feel when the Cowboys beat the Giants 40-0, right? You guys beat the Giants 40-0, right?
We beat them 40-0. Yeah.
How'd you feel about how that 0? How'd you feel? The 0 is pretty much.
So let me change. Let me give you a different scenario. If the 49ers won a game 13-3, would you not say that was a tough win for the 49ers if they only won 13-3?
It really depends. I would say no, because
so you're saying the 49ers dominated a game that they only won 13-3?
I mean, there's factors to the game. But it really depends. No. But it depends if a team scores 3 points and they never really, although maybe drives got stalled for whatever reason, penalties, things outside of the control. No, I didn't say turnovers. I said penalties. I said penalties.
Okay.
Things that were outside of their control and they didn't get a drive together to actually put up points, but they held the team to 3 points. They held the team below what their normal.
That was a struggle for your offense to only put up 13 points. So you don't think that other team's defense played well enough?
So the Eagles struggled. Are you guys trying to say, because we're turning this to
No, we
No,
just
the Eagles didn't struggle, but I will say this though,
understand
D.
that
They
blood
got
is
some
thicker
bag.
than water.
No,
You guys
really.
are trying to turn this into something.
No, we're just talking about the makeup of a game in terms of a score. Like,
That's
okay, and then
it.
you look at yesterday Dito, really. Like, there was like that roughing the passer on
Oh
Hurts.
man,
That was
with
a bad
Wilkins,
call.
Wilkins, yeah, Wilkins
a
on
bad
there. That was a
call. Like,
bad
there was
call.
some
That was a
bad
bad call.
calls.
It was some
that
bad.
they
The
had.
face
There was
mask,
some
the
bad
face
calls.
mask on
face-
Wilson on the sideline.
That they
Tunnel
missed
eye,
that.
that's it.
Although y'all
That's
did
not-
come back the next play and get the turnover for the touchdown, but still, it was still a. Those are some
I
missed calls,
want
bad
this
calls.
grace. I want this grace on other games, Rod. I'm just gonna say
No,
that.
I give it.
Because
I
you're
would
giving
give
a
it
lot
to
of
you.
grace.
I would
You're
give-
giving
I
a lot
understand
of
that.
I'm saying the
grace.
truth. It's no, I'm not a lot of grace because Corey, in all honesty, and I
Did I have-
checked Corey last night.
I'm
Yo, Corey,
looking
was I
for-
not? Was I not?
No,
blowing
Yeah,
check
yeah,
him
we
on
was
the
in
show?
tune.
I was
We was
checking
in
him on the
tune.
show.
Don't
Yeah.
check them at home.
Chill lie came on y'all quick.
Open is better than secret love.
No.
What to him now? Tell him
Listen,
what his
yo,
team didn't do
The
now.
Dolphins, honestly, even though you play who's on your schedule, right? You beat the teams that you played. But the verdict is still out that you still, like Dallas, you got to still beat the better teams. And that is the truth, right? Dolphins, people still want to see what they look like beating formidable opponents. Now, again, but I can't lie. I got to go with what my eyes saw. That game was still competitive. I don't think the Eagles played they were so dominant to where Miami had no chance. It was 17-17 at one point.
I understand that.
So
And
I'm saying we
it's
can't say that they
0-0
dominated
at
the
some
game.
point. That doesn't
Well,
mean anything.
but before anybody
it's
played.
3-3. Yeah, what is this? This is. But my question to you is time of possession. Could you tell me what the time of possession was?
I already know it. I got it for you.
Oh, okay. What was it?
37 minutes for Philly, something like that. 37, 38 minutes they had the ball.
Okay, so is that dominant or no? I mean, how long
That's
is the
all,
game?
but that's only they had the ball for 8 minutes more than us.
Okay.
And most of that was on the last drive. They killed the last drive. That's where they did all the damage at.
I mean, but if we're
Time of possession
I know
wasn't
Rod says this to me all the time. In the beginning of a game, if a team gets up to a lead, because somebody said they were going to start 14-10 and going into the half. I don't know who said that. Because sometimes I confuse you guys. You guys look so close. And the voices are so similar. I don't know who said that. But someone said 14-10 going into the half. That didn't happen.
I said 14-10.
And so they were gonna start off fast. That didn't happen. So I say all that to say that when we look at a game, Rod usually says a game in the first half, if a team gets out to a lead, and sometimes, let's say the Cowboys are looking good, I'll be like, yo, y'all pretty much this game is sold. And he'll be like, nah, it's still early. Mm-hmm. But if a team in the second half dominates time of possession, dominates drives, and they're able to pretty much, if they wanted to, they have run out the clock. I mean, ultimately, they pretty much did in the fourth quarter. They really dominate, and that's where it counts in a quote unquote tightly contested game. Both teams could win. If a team dominates you and says, "No, you're not getting the ball back. We're going to drive and then score."
Okay,
that's domination.
Okay, let me ask you this, Donald. Did you watch the whole game?
I did.
Okay, a blowout.
Of course.
Wouldn't you say you would kind of tune out, say by the end of the third quarter, if it was a blowout? For most games, when the teams are being dominated,
not the way you
early
were
fourth quarter.
Yesterday.
I'm not saying just not watching it just because of me, but you watched it in that middle of the fourth quarter because it was still a chance.
I have fantasy players. That's the reason I watched the entire game. I had Devontae Smith going, so I had fantasy players. So I had a vested interest to watch the whole game. Plus, I wanted to see the entire game so that any excuse, it was close and we bend but we don't break, all of the excuses that you were going to come up with, and we look good in losing and we're the best team, we looked stylish in losing. You lost, and you lost by double digits. Two touchdowns. Two touchdowns. And they took a knee with 2 minutes left in the red zone. That means they could have scored. There's no indication that you could have stopped them. See, that's why I got to.
I'll give them the 2 touchdowns. They won. I'm not going to say they won convincingly. I'm not. You know what I'm saying? It was a good game. I'm not going to give you we look bad. I'm not going to give you that either.
Did they win convincingly? Did the Eagles win convincingly?
Well, I wouldn't. I mean, they won. I would say, if you want to say convincingly, I'm not going to say we look bad, Donald. That's one thing I'm not going to say.
All right, you
I don't
have
think
to
we
say
look
that.
bad.
I would say that
we
the
look
Eagles
bad.
were the better team, y'all.
They were the better team.
They were
The
the
Eagles
better
were
team.
definitely the better team. They were
And-
definitely
Was
the
it a
better
convincing
team.
win? Was it a convincing
I
win?
wouldn't say convincing.
Should I
And they made- and
should
they-
I grab
and
the
they-
paperwork to see what you guys' score was? Rod, you
Maybe
had
we-
a 7-point victory for the Dolphins, right? You said the Dolphins were going to win by 7.
Right.
And Corey,
Never
you
had-
said that they were going to win by
24-20.
4. And they lost by 14. That is convincing. Either you guys
I mean, I can't wait.
that's
I
convincing.
cannot wait.
That's double your score. And that's 10 points. Well, actually 18 points more than what you had, right? That's
Okay,
convincing.
Donald. No, it's not Donald.
All right, well,
Let me tell you
listen.
this. I'm
What
gonna
was
wrap up. I'm
convincing?
gonna go in here.
Baltimore's win
Yeah,
over
it's
Detroit was a
convincing,
convincing.
Detroit.
Also,
That's
38-6. It has
that
to
was
be.
Well,
it has
it's the
to-
way they
Yeah.
dominated. In other words, see,
They dominated.
when you talk about a convincing win, you talk about domination from beginning to end for the most part, right? And you can't say Philly dominated
Well, the
the game,
first
but Philly
half,
was the
Philly
better
shut
team,
down their
and
run
they
game.
executed a lot
It was
better.
still 17-10 at halftime, Donald.
It was
Come on,
17-17.
John.
I understand that, but
Yeah.
we're talking about. There's different levels and a way a team can dominate another team.
Yes.
You guys Mostert averaged what, 5.7 yards a carry?
You know what they?
was-
Yes,
what was his
they dominated
yesterday?
in the trenches. They dominated.
He
in
was
the
9
trenches.
for
If you want to
45,
say
as
that,
long as
they
21.
definitely dominated in the trenches. They definitely
Yeah,
dominated.
they
in the
definitely
trenches.
dominated in the
They dominated
trenches, and they time of possession, what, 36-23?
38 to what? 20. What is that? 30.
I'll tell
Is
you
that
right now,
38 to
I'll-
22?
I'll
38
give you
to
the math.
38 to 20.
Miami
38
had
to
the ball
22.
23 minutes
Yeah,
and
that's
17
16 minutes.
seconds, and they had it 36 minutes and 43 seconds. So they
So
roughly
that's a
had
difference about
40
14
40
minutes.
divided
About
by-
a quarter. About
40
a quarter.
divided
About a
by
quarter
2
more.
is what?
So they had a quarter more of football.
Let's just
They-
roll
About a
up.
quarter more.
Let's 40 divided by 2 is what?
What is
That's
20?
So that's half, right? So
Yeah.
they almost doubled you in time of possession, right? Am I right?
Almost, yeah. Yeah.
They
did,
shut
yeah.
down something
38.
that
38
they
to
shut
23.
down
That's
something
almost
that
double.
you guys were dominant in the run, right? I don't think anybody hit 22 miles an hour, right? Nobody was.
No, nobody. I don't even. We probably ain't
People
even
were running
we
into
probably
each other,
ain't-
trying to concuss themselves to get out of the game. It was like I saw the
That,
two
and you know
players-
that was a big play. That was on a third down scramble from Hurts too. That was big. He definitely made some plays. But no, Don, I'm not here. You know, I came on here. I'm a man of my word, and like I say, we took the L here. And I did say if we lost and looked good, it wouldn't feel as bad. But now in this Kansas City game, I need a win. And if we don't win, you want to call fraud, we fraud. And on that note, I'm a bail out, man.
Okay, no
That's
problem.
my word.
Listen, you might listen. It's better to just say it now because then the healing can happen within the 2 weeks. Get prepared for Kansas City to open
I
a
will-
can. They're
and you know
going
what?
to.
Please have me back before that show because we will be more healthy, and we will talk about that game when it comes.
Okay.
I appreciate
Sounds
you, fellas, man.
Man,
I
listen,
appreciate
thank
that,
you.
man.
I appreciate you coming back on the show,
No doubt,
being
man,
man
Corey.
enough
We
to
appreciate you, man.
address it. You came with a lot of excuses, but hey, at least you're here. You came with a ton of excuses. Jalen Ramsey, who I think he was in when they signed him on signing day, he got injured, and now you're using him as a reason why you lost. It's all good, man. We appreciate it.
I'll see y'all in 2 weeks, bro. I'll see y'all in 2 weeks, fellas.
2 weeks.
Much love, brothers.
2 weeks.
Y'all be
All right,
easy,
yo,
all right?
thank you.
All right,
No
peace,
doubt.
y'all.
You're blessed.
All right.
Later.
Man, Rod, man, my disappointment in you grows, man.
Watt said, "Get ready for the Knicks for Corey." No,
Right.
no, really, I'm not saying. Look, it's not defending Corey. What I am saying, the only thing I push back on is that I can't say that Miami looked bad last night. I mean, think about it. If Tyreek catches that pass across the middle, that's a score right off the rib. I mean, that was a bad drop. I mean, that was just clear. I mean, nobody was going to catch him once he caught that ball. But I'll say that, and again, it's not because I loathe and have disdain for the Feebles, but the truth of the matter is that was a 17-17 game. Miami still had a chance to win that game.
Point,
but then
yeah,
once the tush push started really taking over and they started to convert, then what would you go? Like, in other words, here was the thing, right? The tush push is so effective that when Sirianni called that timeout on that third down, because like we just said, they knew they was going to go for it on fourth down. But in that instance right there, they was going to punt the ball because they was too far. They was on their side of the field. They was going to punt that ball. But Sirianni says, why would I do that when I technically, like Bruce was saying, they could run that all the way down the field. He says, why am I going to give them a chance to get the ball back? Because my secondary is could possibly get lit again. So let me go ahead.
Well, I don't think that was the reason.
We got a 7-point. Well, I mean, think about it, right? I mean, what? Because Tyreek, he had 11 catches, for 99
for under 100 yards.
Yeah, 99. Yeah,
he's
99.
been averaging
that's about 9 yards a catch.
35, yeah. And so he's been averaging 125 or 135 a game. They held him below. Everybody was held below.
But you don't want to take a chance in a one-score game.
You don't want to say dominate.
But in a one-score game, you don't want to take a chance of a big play. Miami still has the propensity to make a big play, right? So you're only in a one-score game. At that point, they was up 24-17. So he says, why do I just go to this? We're going to go for it on fourth down. Let's get the tush, because here's the thing. What's the worst-case scenario? If they don't convert, Miami could score, and now the game was only tied. So you got a 7-point cushion. You get the tush push. Now you don't get Miami back on the field until a whole almost 8 minutes later. So that's the thing. When you got an effective play like that, that's where, if you want to talk about domination, in that sense, yeah, they dominated, because once you get into a scenario like that where the score is tight, you got a situation where you're playing possession football now at that point. Philly's going to have the advantage at that point, and they play to their advantage, and that's what a good team is going to do. So you keep your offense on the field, and that's what they did by converting first downs consistently and along the way. So you kept Miami off the field basically at that point, and now you up by 2 scores. Now it's a wrap, right? Because now
they broke Miami's will. They forced them to conform. Let's talk about.
They had no more time left to do anything. So yeah, right.
Go ahead. Let's talk about the game tonight, right? Well, there's so many things we could talk about. Lamar Jackson, how he dominated Detroit, which is another fraudulent team that I called. I mean, listen, I was pretty hot this weekend.
I don't think so. I don't think Detroit.
You 38-6. You said that they were dominated.
I actually had them winning that game. I thought, because I didn't believe at all in Baltimore's offense. Yeah, I was wrong. No, I was wrong. But Detroit is, you got to put, when you say fraudulent, right? You're talking about expectations. No one has an Detroit. When we say Detroit is good, we're saying that they're better than they've been the last 25 years. That's pretty much all we're saying.
They were 5-1. That's not what we're saying. They were talking about Detroit representing the NFC in the Super Bowl potentially.
No way.
They want to prop these teams up to be, Super Bowl.
But anybody like you, Donald, that knows football, know there's no truth to that. They're not better than the Niners. They're not better than the Eagles, and they're not better than the Cowboys.
I love how you said Cowboys last. I appreciate that.
Doesn't matter.
Thank you.
But
you need to do it in order. Give honor where honor is due. I love that. I love it, man. I appreciate that. Give honor where honor is due. First, giving honor to the Eagles, then the Niners, and then the Cowboys.
To the angel of this NFL, to the 49ers.
Oh, man, yes.
Gosh. Right.
But no, I can appreciate that.
Right.
But yeah, there's a lot of teams that, and just because they're faring pretty decent within the ranks of the NFC or AFC, how will they potentially match up when they have to, if they get to the point, if they get through all of the tough teams that they would have to face in order to represent a conference? And I just don't see Detroit, but they were trying to. Jared Goff was in the MVP discussions, and the way he's been playing, he's been so poised. But Jared Goff, let's remember, is limited. He's limited to a controlled environment. When he's in domes, he plays a lot better. When you put him in the elements, very similar to Tua, it changes. How do you play in cold weather? And we know Detroit is cold, but their dome is very comfortable, very 7 degrees. So we'll see how if they had to go on the road and you have to play. Now imagine if
they're in a weak division, so they'll be there.
They'll be in the playoffs. They'll win the division. Yeah. But what will that amount to? Now you have already stated your concern that you would have to play Detroit because you're not winning your division. But you would have to maybe play them in a wild card game.
We're gonna win.
You still believe that?
Yeah, I do. I do believe we're winning because I'm not afraid of the Eagles. See, y'all scared of it. I'm telling you, we're not afraid of the Eagles. We can beat the Eagles. We're not afraid of the Eagles.
You got 2 more weeks to tell
Dallas
yourself
can beat
that.
the Eagles. Yes. Yeah, we'll beat them. We'll beat them. Yeah. You know what? The best thing that could happen.
The way you say it is like how a kid, when you try to tell a kid that, there's nobody in their closet and they try to jump into bed with you. Daddy, there's somebody in my closet. There's nothing in there. I'm not afraid of. You got to kind of rehearse it yourself and try to build up your confidence. We're not afraid of the Eagles.
We can beat.
We're not afraid of the Eagles.
We would have swept them last year if Dak wasn't hurt in that game, and they didn't have Jalen Hurts either.
Here we go with excuses. End of the day, what did you do though? You split with them, and they are better. I'll say this: the way Dallas is playing
they got a better front line
coming out of the bye,
their lines are better.
Maybe everything is refreshed. They're renewed like an eagle. Like maybe coming out of it, they'll be a lot better.
The beat down at Levi Stadium was the best thing that could have happened to the Cowboys, quite honestly.
But they played since then, and they only put up 20 points. So it's not like.
But that's all right. I still think we did things in that Chargers game that showed us what Dallas could be if they just stayed consistent with it. And again, the Eagles have no back
defense. And against what did beating the Chargers really show you guys? Chargers are bottom in everything.
No, but it showed us though offensively, particularly with Dak, and what we can do when we do actually look to involve CD, even though he only had 7 targets. But with Dak moving his legs and he's always been good throwing the ball on the run. He's got great accuracy with that. The Cowboys, the Dallas can still do some things when Dak is playing on that kind of a level, especially when he's feeling the game. When you box him in like that, like what McCarthy's been doing because he wants to just run the ball, it limits him. So I think hopefully Dallas saw something in like, okay, if we could keep Dak playing like this, okay, then let us go ahead and try to build around that. The problem I have with the Cowboys right now, though, we can't run block. That's the problem that we have. So there's some problems there, but I still think we could beat Eagles. I still think we could beat them. I don't care. I just think we can still beat them. I don't care what nobody say. We could beat them. And we will beat them.
Okay.
We will beat them.
Very interesting. Real quick, we'll talk about Kansas City. The Chargers, they're going to have a new coach coming up soon. Probably not during the season, but next year they're going to have a new head coach.
Oh, yeah.
Talk about underachievers. The Chargers, Kansas City just looks superior. Between them and the Ravens from the AFC, they've looked really, really good. Still the Kansas City needs another receiver. They got Mecole Hardman back, so we'll see if he's completely acclimated. But Rashee Rice is coming into his own. Of course, Travis Kelce, he showed out yesterday. Just the numbers were gaudy numbers. I like to think that it's going to be really interesting over the next 4 games for all of our teams, right? The Niners included, because it was reported that Debo is going to be out probably till week 10, right? He's going to be out the next 2 games. Then we have a bye. Probably the first time he comes back is week 10. Which should be interesting, or maybe week 11, whatever. He's going to be out the next 2 games. We play Cincinnati, right? So Cincinnati is coming off of a bye. They've had rest. I'm sure Joe Burrow is getting back acclimated. It's going to be interesting. You guys play the Eagles in the next 2 weeks. Miami plays Kansas City within the next 2 weeks. So all of our teams are going to have pretty much some interesting. Ours is based off the fact that we're dealing with injuries and teams that are trying to ascend. Cincinnati's 3-3. Obviously, they're trying to make a playoff push. We're going to get their best effort. You want to measure yourself in your division with the Eagles to see where you guys fit in. Eagles have been dominating so far. Not talking about against you guys, but I'm saying they're 6-1. So they're looking pretty good. And then, of course, Corey is on the fence with the fraudulent fence. And if his team continues to lose against teams he would potentially have to beat in order to make it to the Super Bowl, then he will probably have to reevaluate how good his team is. So I think it's going to be interesting that over the next, 3 or 4 games where our teams match up, and everybody should be getting healthy, right? Eventually our team will be at full strength, but we can only play what we have, who we have, and play who we play. So we talk about this game real quick. San Francisco 49ers versus Minnesota Vikings. Now, Vikings are playing without Justin Jefferson. Huge loss. I mean, he was lighting up everybody. For the most part, he had 1 or 2 down games, but for the most part, he was putting up huge numbers. The 49ers are a 7-point favorite. The over-under on that is
that's it.
44.
So if they win 21-14, is that a close game? If they win 21-14 by 7?
Let me tell you, I'm going to give you what my score is. This is not college. Excuse me, not college. We're not talking about running up points. We don't do style points. There's no committee determining if we make it to the college playoffs. This is the NFL. So something that's a little alarming to me is that the fact is we're dealing with injuries. We're on the road, but we're still 7-point favorites. What's concerning to me is I think that we are overall, maybe without the injuries, it would be double digits favorite.
Is Greenlaw back? Is Greenlaw playing tonight? Let me see.
Well, I'll tell you who's not playing. Trent ain't playing. Debo's not playing.
Debo's out. Yeah, Trent is out too.
Yeah. So this is going to be on Purdy more than usual.
Greenlaw's playing.
Okay, tonight. Very good. Very good. So I would say this: Brandon Ayuk and Kittle are going to have really good games. I think the run game, I wouldn't be surprised if they use CMC more as a decoy. I think CMC is going to continue his touchdowns a game. He's going to get a touchdown, right? Even if they drive it down the field and they just punch it in, I would be surprised. He said he feels great, but it would be foolish, and I would be surprised if they give him 20 plus touches. He really needs to be there if we're in a pinch, which I don't foresee it. But I will say this: with 7-point favorites, I think that they are begging. Vegas is begging everyone to jump on the Niners 7 points, because it's like, are you kidding me? They just had a loss. They're coming back. We know how Kirk Cousins performs and his contract and how long is he going to be with the team. I think it's going to be a closer game than advertised, actually. I had said this on our last show, and I'm going to double down on it. I like the Niners to win 28-24. We're
28-24?
Yeah, below. It's not going to be
28-20. So you think your team is going to give up on your defense with Greenlaw back now?
I'm just saying it's going to be
24 points? Wait, D, what's going on here?
The number. Oh, this is
no,
what
I'm talking out of both sides of your mouth now, bro. Nah,
how
bro,
is that?
You slick talking now. Because D, look, okay, you trying to play it safe. This team is bad.
We're not going to win. We're not going to win. Didn't I start off with Vegas? Did I say Vegas?
No. I understand.
We're not going to win by more than a touchdown. Is what I'm getting at.
That's what you're trying to say.
We're going to put a point. We're putting up.
But aside from Vegas, can you tell me what the score would be? We're just out here talking in the barbershop for a minute. No Vegas. What's the score? Your main score. We'll put on record with your Vegas theory. But
based on team, we should beat them by 2 touchdowns. Honestly, we should beat them by 2 touchdowns. And the fact that it's not at least a 10-point spread has me a little concerned. So 7 points, and it stayed that way because who do they have? They don't have a significant wide receiver. They have Addison, but he's not a world beater. And they got Madison as their running back. They don't have any, and of course we know what Kirk Cousins is. So he's not a super mobile quarterback. So I say all that to say it should be by 14. It should be by a minimum of 10. And the fact that it isn't has me a little puzzled as to why it's that close. So I think the Niners will win. I'm confident in that, but I think it will be by a field goal. It will be below a touchdown, in my opinion. I could be completely wrong, but I don't think so. I think it's the way those spreads look, it looks a little funny to me. What do you say?
I think the Niners will probably win this game. I'm saying like 30-13. And I'm gonna tell you the truth. If the Niners don't win convincingly, as you put it, there's a problem. There's a problem because you need to win this game convincingly. You need to. In light of what happened last week with Cleveland, you need to come into this game here in Minnesota, and you need to win this game convincingly. CDC is playing hurt. He's not injured. He's playing hurt, right? But it's obviously he's not hurt to the degree he can't play. That's why he's playing hurt, but he's not injured, right? There's a difference between being injured and hurt. He's going to play. He's going to run. If Ayuk is the number one, like you say he is, then yeah, he should ball out today, right? And so should Kittles have a good game. Now, from what I've been reading about the Vikings is that they send more than four rushers 60% of the time. So they'll try to get some extra pressure up there with Purdy if they can in some passing situations.
Flores is their DC.
Yeah, Brian Flores is their DC, right? But at the end of the day, right? But then you're going to compromise something. You're losing coverage back there in the back and on the backside. And, Purdy, again, one bad game last week, but I think, he's still a good decision maker for all intents and purposes. And I think the Niners should win this game pretty comfortably. They should. They really should. Now, if y'all struggle in this game, and this game kind of go down to the wire, where you got no Jefferson at all, they have no run game. They only average 75 yards a run. Okay, that's it. 75 yards a run. 75 yards a game in total rushing. That's bad. Okay, that's bad. So y'all need to really be able to shut them down. And because statistically, this team is bad, and I don't expect that to change in tonight's game. So if I'm picking the Niners, I'm going 30-13, and y'all should win convincingly.
You guys came off of a blowout and won by 3 points, but you want us, our measuring stick. We got to blow a team out. You sound ridiculous. Dak didn't sleep, and the whole team had to sleep in the facility, and all you could muster up was a 3-point victory. And we have to.
But the Chargers are a better team. But the Chargers are still a better team. They had Eckler coming back. No, Mike Williams wasn't there, but Mike has been out for a little while. So
statistically, they're bottom feeders. What are you talking?
Defensively,
they might not be better than Minnesota.
But I'm saying, okay, when you look at the Vikings, right? So offensively, yards passing, right? Overall, they average 354 yards a game between pass and rush. Right, 75 on the ground.
What's the Chargers? I want to hear so you say 375. What's the Chargers? Since we're going to make that comparison, where we gotta blow a team out in order to come off of a loss, a 2-point loss. Meanwhile, you guys got the doors blown off of you. You won by 3 points, but we got to prove to you we're a good team. We already proved to you we're a good team when we played head to head. Don't you agree?
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
Okay, then, so I don't want to hear we got to blow the doors off of them, and there's a problem. We'll be 6-1. That will be the problem.
Let's see. I gotta pull up there. So let me see. I gotta pull up their passing. I gotta pull up their. I'm a little trouble pulling it up here. Total points a game. Total ones. Scoring. They average 24. Let me see. First down, passing down. Total offensive, total yards. So they average 385 average.
So 30 yards more. That's nothing. That's you were acting like the Chargers were head and shoulders above Minnesota.
But they do. But I'm saying they got a better quarterback. Okay, they got a better quarterback in Justin Herbert, who's better. Now Herbert.
We're talking 30 yards.
And I got some stuff to talk about these quarterbacks. We're gonna save that for another segment. All right, because I think a lot of these quarterbacks are blown out of proportion. But anyway. But he is a better quarterback than Kirk Cousins for all intents and purposes. Kirk is not a bad. He's a stat pattern. He's a good quarterback. But presumably Herbert is a better quarterback, right?
Yeah, I agree. I think he is.
You know what I'm saying? And they've been lighting up the scoreboard. They've been doing a lot now, mind you. But Jefferson is a huge loss, right? That's a huge loss for Minnesota. So all I'm saying is that this still should be a game.
Mike Williams is a huge loss.
Mike is a
Chargers.
huge loss for them, but he's
Okay,
been out
so
for a couple of weeks. So I'm
we're still
saying, I mean,
talking about
it
30.
wasn't like,
Jefferson's
just like,
been out for a couple of weeks. What are you talking about? He didn't
well,
just
he
get
has
lost
been, but I'm saying it's still a
you want to make us have to prove something to you, and we already proved what we needed to prove, right? We beat you by 40 points. What else is there to prove for the Niners against the Cowboys? There's nothing for us to prove.
It's not so much against the Cowboys. I mean, y'all are a better team whether y'all win or not. I'm going to still go on record.
Thank you.
Y'all a better team until we beat y'all. That's it. That's as simple as that.
Well, it's going to be a while.
We'll see in January.
Not going nowhere for a while. Have a Snickers because we're going to be better than you guys for a minute. And so, what can I get your score on
30-13? I think it should be 30-13. That's what I'm
30-13. 30-13. Okay. Well, I think I think it's going to be under a touchdown. You think it's going to be? Is that considered a blowout? 30-13?
Absolutely, that's a blowout.
Oh, it's a blowout.
Absolutely. So you don't think that's a blowout?
It is. What is your threshold on blowouts? Like, because 14 isn't a blowout to you.
No, it isn't.
When they were in the red zone and could have punched it in and been 21.
Because to me, if it's a 14-point lead, right? And again, like you said earlier, which I agree, everything is in context of the game, how a game flows, right? But if a team loses, if a team is down, say, by 7, midway or early into the fourth quarter, that game is close, right? Then the team scores another touchdown. Now they get a little separation there, all right? To me, that's still a pretty much falls into perfect close game because one play can change everything. If you're down by 1 score before you get up to 2 scores, then anything can change. And then if it's 2 scores throughout an entire game, so say if it's 14-7 for them or 21-7 for most of the game, but then the team that's up 21-7 doesn't score for the rest of the game, okay, then I still think that's still pretty close because they still could have scored another touchdown, make it 21-14.
They could, but
right.
Do they?
But when you talk about anything can happen, when you have this is how I look at it. If you're in to me, a contested game is where one play can change a game. One play can change a game. If a fumble, a turnover, a pick six, fumble return, a block punt, whatever it is, then that can change the game, but the outcome of a game. And that's a critical thing. So to me, when you're blowing a team out, you got leverage. You got wiggle room to make some mistake. So if there's a fumble or a pick or an interception, it don't really matter because you're up by 24 points at that point. So it doesn't matter. That's all I'm saying. That's how I look at it, because you're going to play the game and call the game differently when it's a one play. That's my point with Sirianni last night. Sirianni knew he could not let Miami get back on that field again. He just didn't want to take a chance.
So that was out of fear. You're suggesting that he did that
out of fear. No,
it's
good strategy. It's good strategy.
Okay.
Keep them on the sideline. Yeah, that's all.
Right.
That's all.
If you have it, if your team can dominate and keep that's the goal, isn't it? Long drives, the defense gets tired, then you can start AJ Brown, you can start opening him up. That's because.
But doesn't a team have to play? Doesn't the opponent have to play well enough to even put you in a position to think like that? So if that's the case, then you're not blowing that team out. That team is still playing very well, and they're playing good enough for you to make a decision and say, you know what?
Hey, you know what? I'm going to dominate the time of possession. I'm so afraid of them. I'm going to make sure that I have 35 minutes.
But that's something you should have been doing in the beginning, but they weren't able to do that.
Exactly. So what are you saying that
that's what I'm saying. Miami played well enough, so then that says, that says that the Eagles didn't dominate the game. Like just because they dominated time of possession, but they didn't dominate that until going into midway through the third or into the third into the fourth quarter, because then
second
they began
half, pretty much. They
half, right? But it was only a 1
half.
point score up until that point when they decided to dominate. It was 24-17. By the time they really began to, or even was tied, it was still a competitive game until that point. Miami played well enough for the Eagles to say, okay, we need to start controlling the clock now. And let's go ahead and not get this offense back on the field. That's what, so you can't say that they dominated. Domination is what Detroit, what happened to Detroit. That's domination. It didn't matter what Detroit was going to do. Baltimore had that game in a wrap. That team was befuddled, Detroit that was. They was clueless out there. They couldn't cover nobody. They couldn't tackle nobody. They was completely out of sorts. That was a domination. What y'all did to Dallas, that's domination. That was complete, utter Domination. That's what happened. That's dominate. What happened last year in the playoffs against y'all? Y'all didn't dominate us. Y'all didn't dominate us. I need to put the thumb the right way. Y'all didn't dominate us. But the truth is that game was
Apple
close.
speaks the truth. Even when its owner lies, Apple speaks the truth.
Oh, gosh. But y'all
So
should win this game easily.
Yeah, I think we'll win. I think it'll be closer than what you imagine it. And if not, hey, listen, I have Brock Purdy on my fantasy team. I think he's going to go off. I have Brandon Ayuk. So I'm looking for those guys to have.
I did predict, though, that Minnesota's going to get a defensive touchdown, though.
You did.
Yeah.
You did.
Mm-hmm.
And that might be the case. That might be. And that
but it won't matter. Y'all
and that kind of works towards my, kind of analysis of what the final score will be. We're both sure about the Niners winning. What we're not sure about is the score, how close it'll be. You think it's going to be a blowout? Although your definition of a blowout kind of gets muddy depending on who you're talking to and what team you're talking to. You don't have a consistent blowout definition.
14 points is not a blowout to me. I don't think 14 points.
And that is 2 touchdowns, 2 scores, 2 touchdowns, not 2 scores.
And again, you got to think
blowout.
I don't think so. I think it's a blowout. Now, I'll say this though, D. If you're up 31-0, or say you're up, watch this. If you're up 31-3, right? Going into the fourth quarter, you've been dominating. Now the team comes back. They're in passing mode, obviously. You're playing soft coverage. You're giving up some stuff that's in front of you. Team drives down. They score 2 more points. So now 31-10, 31-17. Game is over now. Now there's no more time left in the game for them to come back. Now, when you look at that, you'll say, okay, even though it's only 2 touchdowns, I believe that team still dominated. But if there's still a 2-point score where it goes between a 1-point and a 2-point score for most of the second half, I don't think that's a domination. I think that game is still close for any team to win or lose. That's all I'm saying.
Okay. You nuanced it enough. It's all good, man. Listen, it's going to be interesting. And so I just want to have you on record so I could clip this at a later point. When you guys play the Eagles, do you think how dominant do you think it's you guys can beat the Eagles?
That's going to be a close game. I don't think either team is going to dominate. I just think both teams are going to play well, and the team that makes, I don't mean to say it'll sound cliche, but the team that makes the play that matters, they'll win the game. So the team that makes the bigger play at the most crucial moment. If by chance the Eagles
beat you by 2 touchdowns, based on what you said, because they're evenly matched and we're not afraid of them and we can handle them. If they happen to beat you by 2 touchdowns, will you now consider that based on not knowing all?
It's not a blowout. No, it will not be a blowout. They beat us by 10. They beat us by 2 scores last year, 27-17. They beat us by 2 scores last year, but that game was 2017. And that's no Dak. Okay, and they was winning 20-3 before we came back and cut that lead to 3. So and then they ended up. And then what happened? Sirianni,
you just described a team blows you out 20-3.
But it was in the third quarter. I said in the fourth quarter. I said in the fourth quarter where your coverage is soft.
Oh my goodness!
Your coverage is soft, and you're playing in basically prevent defense for all intents.
That's all. That's how you guys.
But the Eagles weren't in prevent defense because we were still early in the game when they was up 20-3. Then we settled down. We shut down that nonsense for a minute. Cooper Rush started getting the feel of the game. We started moving the ball in their defense, and it was 2017 by the time the fourth quarter came in. And then that's when they went on there. That's when they started to kill us with the run. They ran, and they managed. They ran for 8 clock. And that's
10
what they
minutes
did.
On you guys. And
right, exactly. Because we was in the game enough to win. Sirianni did to us what he did to Miami last night. Same thing. So that's why I say you can't say that they dominate. See, when you use that word dominate, D,
now I'm understanding why. I'm understanding why you don't look at that as a domination, because your team, your brother's team, were treated the same way. You guys were abused by the run the same way by the same team. So I understand why you don't look at it as
this
abuse.
Theory all the time. Even last year we talked about this theory on the blowout, if you recall. It's always been the same. D, domination is what happened to Dallas, okay, 2 weeks ago in Levi Stadium. You can clip that. You can clip that. That's domination. That's domination. I give you that.
low-hanging
That's
fruit.
what
We
you
know
call
that.
domination.
That's low-hanging fruit. We don't want to use.
You don't want that? I'm trying to tell you
Fresh
because I'm
manna.
trying to
We
make
want fresh
give
manna.
you put it in context for you.
No,
What
it's
the
okay.
Dolphins did to Denver, that's a blowout. It's
what
domination.
Buffalo did to Miami, that's a blowout.
That's a
What-
blowout. That's a blowout.
and in
blowout
my
is
opinion-
domination.
In my opinion, what the Eagles did, when you have the potential, when you say we're going to take a knee because we don't want to run up the score, that's the purpose of them taking a knee, not because they were stopped. They didn't want to run up the score and have a 3-touchdown lead. That's domination.
No, I get your. I mean, yeah, I get your point. Although, I mean,
It's mercy. It's a mercy rule. When we were younger and there was a mercy. When a team is beating them, it's a mercy rule. All right, we in softball, we beating you by 5-7 runs, game's over. You just aren't in our league. That's what. If a team takes a knee and it doesn't go down to the wire, it's domination at some point. Unless, not in all cases, but in the case of you just got a big play to get in the red zone. You had enough time. First of all, after they got the first down, they let it run to the 2-minute warning. And then they took knees the rest of the game. So, it was, to me, the potential of winning by 3 touchdowns and 3 touchdowns, I don't care what you say, is a blowout. That's a blowout.
That's a blowout.
And so they were right there. They chose not to do it. They had mercy. I mean, they just had mercy on them.
No, they did that. No, they did. They showed the sport.
They showed brotherly love. They really did. And since Tua and Jalen Hurts are both from Bama, they both played for Alabama. He showed mercy on them.
But I'm a show. But let me just say this real quick. I know you're trying to get to the game. I don't want you to miss your kickoff. Let me say this though, D. But when you look at that game, and I see your point on this, but with all intents and purposes, the Eagles was not playing to score on that last drive. They were just all they wanted to do was run the clock out.
Oh yeah,
that's
I agree.
it. All right, so
they could have scored.
Right, they could have, but that wasn't the thing. Now here's the thing where mercy comes in. Mercy says if it's 9 minutes left to play, right? Okay, and or let's just say not even 9 minutes. Let's just say if it's 4 minutes left to play, right? And you up by 20 points at that point, right? And it's 4th and say 5. You're up by 20. You're not gonna go for it on 4th down. You most likely gonna go ahead and punt the ball back. Let your defense play because they're in a passing situation anyway. So let your guys pin their ear back and run after the quarterback. That's mercy. That's to say, you know what? We could have still continued this drive if we really wanted to. We could convert this 4th down, but I don't want to get my guys hurt. We up by 20. It's only 5 minutes left to play. We ain't going for it. We're going to go in and punt the ball. We ain't even going to try to get the first down. That's different than what Philly did last night, because really what Philly wanted to do was what? Keep Miami from having another opportunity to get the ball. So it was a matter, don't turn the ball over. Let's run the clock out. It doesn't matter if they was on the 1 yard line, which in all intents and purposes they were. But it wasn't like, yo, we going to go ahead and we could score again. It wasn't about the score. It was just about killing the clock at that point. And that's all Miami wanted them to stop them from doing. You see what I'm trying to say? So that's all I'm saying. So they didn't really show mercy as much as it was that we're going to take this 2-point lead because we just don't want them to have any more timeouts to get the ball back so they can be able to run another play.
2 touchdown. We're going to take this 2-touchdown lead.
Yeah, 2-touchdown lead. Yeah. We're going to 2 touchdown.
Soften it up. 2 points.
Right. Two touchdowns. Well, 2 points is two possessions is what I was trying to say, but 2 points. I mean, 2 touchdowns. Right. So.
All right, man. Listen.
All right, D.
Niners going to do their thing tonight. 6-1. Here we come.
Mm-hmm.
Should be a good game.
I'm
looking for Brandon Ayuk. I'm looking for Brandon Ayuk.
That's what I'm looking at. If Ayuk come away, America, watch this. If Ayuk gets 4 catches for 36 yards, you know what D going to tell me? We didn't need him. We didn't really need him.
I will say this. It all depends on what Kittle does, right? But
Ayuk is the number 1. I don't want to hear what everybody else is doing.
He is the number 1. He's going to have an impressive stat line. But what I'm saying is we're not focused on appeasing egos. We're about getting W's. There is a difference.
What number 1 do you know is not about the ego? What number 1 that you know is not about winning the ball? Well, how many number 1s you know that way?
In the flow of a game, right?
Doesn't matter.
If it's based on getting a W, you know what? And we'll wrap here. Number one receivers only care when it boils down to contract years. When it comes time to get paid, then they want their focus. They want the team to focus on what this said player brings to the team.
Right.
But in the course of a week to week, whether Ayuk gets 10 passes thrown to him or Kittle gets 8, remember Sunday. I mean, it's Monday, but Sunday was National Tight Ends Day, so they may feature Kittle. But as long as it equals and equates to a victory, we're happy. As Niner fans, we're happy. As long as we get the W and get out healthy, that's all that matters. February is what matters. Black History Month is what matters. Remember that. That's what matters. Everybody else is October. I know you care about that and all that. We care about getting healthy, continuing to progress as a team, and getting to February, getting to the Super Bowl and winning. That's our goal. So the problem is that we are looking at things differently. You guys just want to kind of go through the motions. We want to be the motion and get to the Super Bowl and actually win the game. But we'll see, man.
We're gonna see. He better have a game tonight, though. He better have a game tonight.
We'll be texting back and forth.
Oh yeah, we will be.
Don't block my text. I know you can do that with Apple phones. You can block everything and
we can.
Do not disturb and do all this other stuff. That's cool.
We could but my line is open. My text line is always open to you because I want to make sure I'm saying that you see my text too coming through, and I want to receive yours, so I'll be able to know how to properly respond. You know what I'm saying?
It, man.
Yeah.
Once again, shout outs to Kingdom Creative for the production. Shout outs to Infinite Audio for the music. That music you hear, good stuff, man. Yeah, good stuff. Please like, share, subscribe to our Facebook and YouTube page. We appreciate all the comments. We thank you, everyone that jumped in. Kenny Watts, Bruce, Strap. Of course, our guest, Corey. He was a man of his word. Let's give him a hand. He was a man of his word. He came through. We appreciate him. He came and he took it.
He took the heat.
Once again, we thank you. We appreciate you guys joining us. Go Niners. 6-1. Here we come. Peace.